Thank you very much. Minister, thanks. First of all, Ciara, thank you for accepting this debate. And Minister, thank you for coming to discuss what is an important issue. And I just want to give the context of why I'm raising this here in the first place. I've met Katie Byrne from Dundalk, who has been, since the age of 18, working for the Wheelchair Association of Ireland. And at the age of 18, she took an interest in wheelchair basketball and providing that as an outlet and a sport for children and adults with disabilities to play and engage in sport. And she's been doing that now for about 12 years. And she does that primarily through North East Thunder, who are the junior and senior basketball team based in Dundalk. They play at the Dundalk Sports Centre. They don't just cater for people in County Louth, they cater for people from your own part of the world in County Meath, from across the border, from Cavan, Monaghan and parts of North Dublin. In total throughout Ireland, you have about 11 junior wheelchair basketball teams and about 10 senior teams. But one of the things that really struck me, which Katie said to me, is the cost. And that is the cost of the playing wheelchairs. Those wheelchairs for a child cost somewhere in the region of €1,000 to about €2,500. For an adult, the cost somewhere in the region of €2,000 to about €6,000. All of that is dependent on the size of the individual and the particular disability that they may have. So that is a huge prohibitive cost. Now, in terms of funding, when you look at the Sports Capital Grant, perhaps quite rightly, it goes to the National Wheelchair Association then, who then will distribute that amongst their clubs. That is a good process. Other grants that they can apply for traditionally have been stuff like national lottery grants, but again, that goes on a regional basis. If you get it 1 year, you can't get it for another 3 years. HSE funding grants. There are local sports partnership grants through the local authority, but that's in the region of kind of €1,000 to €1,500, and it's always split through a variety of multidiscipline sports and everything else. So, what I want to raise today in the Senate, what I would hope the Department could have a look at going into the future, is to at least provide some sort of a dedicated funding stream for wheelchair basketball, a really good sport. And that dedicated funding stream, whether it's X amount of money, I'm not coming in here asking for it to be fully funded. Let's say that we turn around and say, right, we're going to make sure that every club in this country has €3,000 from the government or €4,000, whatever the figure is. That allows these clubs to then turn around and say, okay, here's our fundraising target that we need to reach to be able to buy the proper equipment, the proper wheelchairs, to be able to ensure that people taking part in this sport can enjoy it to the best of their ability. So that's the benefit of having a dedicated funding stream for these clubs, that they at least know on a yearly basis for perhaps a 3 to 5 year term, okay, we are going to get this amount of money each year. We're not dependent on whether an application is approved or not. We're not dependent if an application scheme for funding is oversubscribed and we didn't get the money this year. It is very difficult for people involved in sport, particularly wheelchair basketball, to try and sit down at the start of the year and say, okay, where on earth are we going to try and fundraise X amount of money to be able to buy wheelchairs? And the issue then with it is that they are playing with shoddy equipment. They're playing with chairs that they either don't fit into, chairs that are broken, or chairs that just aren't, after playing the sport, which is a very fast-paced sport, aren't up to scratch anymore. When I was there in Dundalk last Friday in Dundalk Sports Centre, there was kids ranging from the age of 4 to 12, 13, 14. They had their siblings coming along, playing with them, engaging in the sport with them as well. And it was just a great thing to see. The work that Katie Byrne puts into this club is astounding. And there are Katie Byrnes in every edge of this island of Ireland, in every community, helping wheelchair basketball. And I really think, as a government, that it would be a great thing if we could examine or start the process of how we ensure that some sort of dedicated funding goes into clubs like North East Thunder, who are based in Dundalk, so that they know they have X amount of funding coming each year, and they're not relying on grant applications, whether they may or may not get them on each continual financial year.
And can I thank you, Senator McGahon, and commend Katie Byrne, but also Senator Number and I will both attest to the power of your Commencement Matters, because in Cork, the Rebel Wheelers, and we have a very good friend in Conor Collin and his dad Con, who's involved with them, and everything you said is very true, and I commend you for raising the matter and for supporting the wheelchair basketball clubs, in particular in Cork and in County Louth. Thank you, Senator. Anish and Tara.
Gormagad, I want to thank you again, Senator McGahon, for raising this issue. I recognise the importance of sport and physical activity for everybody in society, and we need to ensure that everybody has the opportunity to participate in sport. Ensuring greater participation in sport is a real important element of the national sports policy and a key aim for the government. People with a disability have an absolute right to enjoy and reap the rewards of a physically active lifestyle, and they should have equal opportunities to be active or be involved in sport in other ways. including through volunteering, of course, as well. This year, Sport Ireland is investing €11.4 million in core funding for the network of 29 local sports partnerships around the country to undertake a wide range of actions with the aim of increasing sport and physical activity participation levels in their local communities. I might suggest that the organisation referred to should contact its NGP, the Irish Wheelchair Association, or indeed the Loud Local Sports Partnership with a view to making a funding submission to Sport Ireland. The LSP funding focuses particularly on harder to reach social groups such as people with disability, people from areas of socio-economic disadvantage, ethnic minorities, older adults and women. Through their expertise and local connections with the sports communities, LSPs are able to identify specific needs and deliver effective initiatives accordingly. Sport Ireland is continuing its support of the 29 sport inclusion disability officers across the country with an investment of over €1 million to help with the work being done to encourage and facilitate more people with disabilities to participate in sport. In addition, €2.1 million will be invested by Sport Ireland this year in supporting disability sport-focused NGBs to continue their great work. €140,000 will be provided to Active Disability Ireland for disability awareness and inclusion programmes. Dormant accounts funding has been especially significant and is producing good results. Last year, the Department of Sport and Sport Ireland provided over €2 million to fund a variety of disability sports projects in local clubs across the country. This funding, along with many other programmes and activities being funded from dormant accounts, are helping to provide additional sport and physical activity opportunities for those with a disability in every part of the country. This is being done with great cooperation and ongoing support from the Department of Rural Development, who have demonstrated a strong understanding of the importance of sport for those with disability or with disadvantage. This year, the Department of Sport has received an overall allocation of €10.5 million for dormant account sport measures, and I can assure you that disability sport will again feature prominently in the individual allocations. The Sports Capital Programme is also available for the purchase of non-personal sports equipment throughout the country, and grants are available to the various organisations that qualify for that. Over 13,000 projects, including some wheelchair basketball clubs, have now benefited from Sports Capital funding since 1998 and brings the total allocation to over €1 billion. While the current programme closed last September, and we do hope to announce equipment-only grants soon, I would encourage wheelchair basketball clubs to apply for funding under the next round of the Sports Capital Programme.
Thank you, Minister. Senator McGahon.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Minister. So under the Sports Capital funding, the individual clubs don't apply for that anymore. It's changed that the national organisation apply for Sports Capital funding, and then that is put out throughout the clubs. One thing that I noticed from your reply, which I really would like to comment on, because I think it's a good thing, is the dormant accounts. So that's actually a really good chunk of money that is used in a variety of departments, but that is a good source of income there. Dormant accounts that perhaps the government could take a look at. Perhaps we could say, right, over the next 3 to 4 years, we can actually allocate a little bit more towards a sport that really promotes inclusion, like wheelchair basketball. And like I said, really the process or the reason behind this motion and this debate this morning is to show that it is very difficult for clubs like that who are relying on year-to-year funding based on applications that may or may not be successful. The applications through a local authority are spread among so many clubs that it's pretty small, and given the high amount of money that's required for playing this sport, I think that is why it needs a dedicated funding stream, and I really appreciate you taking this debate this morning.
And Tara Hull.
We'll certainly consider that. One of the challenges with dormant accounts is that the money literally in dormant accounts is running low. So the money being allocated for dormant accounts, there's fewer and fewer of them, is actually reducing. So we're trying every year to make sure that if we can top that up to some extent from the general pot of money, but also, and I'm very keen on this, to ensure that people with disabilities are not disadvantaged because of that. And that is a problem that's going to start arising over the next few years from dormant accounts funding, and it's as well people realise it, but we're certainly very conscious of it. We're getting less money from dormant accounts, and we want to make sure that how can we make that up to the greatest extent possible, and we are doing that, and we are working on that as we speak.
Actually, a very good point, Minister. Thank you.